Landing with a 240 like this is going to recognize this sound. Because this is something that every 240 owner has to deal with it. At some point, that timing belt is gone. Well, apparently I've got a low battery as well. As you can see, she's not a spinning. Something went awry. Well, lucky for me, the timing belts on these are very simple. And I know they're very simple because I've already done it on this one. But apparently I did it with Rock Auto junk parts. So I'm gonna let you finish. But I feel that we gotta give credit where credit is due, and also not disparage where no disparagement is due. I had thought that I'd gotten a junk belt that prematurely failed from Rock Auto. It was a Gates unit, so it should have been a properly quality belt. This new belt I got is from IPD, as mentioned earlier, and although this is revealed later in the video, I didn't want to leave this in hanging for a while. This was user error. You'll see it later, but on the crank pulley, I lost one of the bolts, and I used a random bolt I had around, which turns out it was a little bit longer, went in and actually ate away at the outside of the belt. So, disclaimer. Don't. It has bitten me so many times, and I don't know, maybe it's installation on this one. Maybe it is. Maybe I broke something, but we've got a good, 5,000 miles since I did the timing belt, and we've gone awry, and you can see the wear on the side there, and you can see that it's not spinning, but well, pretty simple. See, I already got the top two bolts off. Those are these guys here, just little 10 millimeters. Ooh, drop it on the ground. So stuff you will need. Fan shroud's got to come out. That makes your life a lot easier. Fan's going to come out. That's going to come off. There's another 10 millimeter there. I forget the size, but you need a big bolt to break that bottom one, and that needs an impact. Or you can get the official IPD crank holder. It's a wrench that fits perfectly in the crank, so you can tighten that main crank bolt, and all your belts got to come off. So if you're into this, this is a good time while you're at it. I find it's a good time to do the water pump. I did the water pump last time. Now it's got me second guessing that, because there's the place here. We're going to start with the fan. Now the fan doesn't have to come off to take this off, so you're going to take the fan off, and then you're going to get to the fan shroud. Another lesson on cheap tools. That's clearly a 10, painted red. That's clearly 11. These Crescent ones, I thought I was going up market and getting myself a nicer tool, but I was in fact not. Because it is barely not a 10. Now say what you will about these guys, but I found that the 10 millimeter is actually a 10. Yeah, she's too fat to get the ratcheting side on, but that's fine. User like mine, break. You really need a couple turns to get her loose. We'll use the magnetic tray. Very convenient. Good time to check your fan as well. When cold, there should be no play. It should be reasonably stiff. More on the topic of wrenches, specifically not using cheap wrenches. You could maybe really force that on, but look, this 10, what is supposed to be a 10, is slightly too small. But the Hazard Fraud Edition fits right in. Both sides. Man. What in the world? Crescent used to be a proud American company. Now for that fan shroud. Once again, we got a ratcheting thing now. Oh, it's on tight. Yeah, somebody put it on tight. Wonder who's the last person to do that. All right, and there's two Phillips screws right into there. Okay, I think it was just those two. There's not any on the bottom, I don't think. Oh, don't forget your little brass spacers here to keep that off. And you'll kind of have to finagle her out. Be careful not to crack your thing. Excellent. That's a much better view down in there. And of course, he's got kind of a weird design in that those belts are behind. That whole crank's coming off anyway. I'll have to impact that. Last time I had the radiator out and I had the space to do this. This time I may not have that luxury. Fill out that water pump. Well, let us see. It's another 10 right down here, and I can't recall if there's a 10 on the bottom or not. We'll find out. No, I don't think there is. Excellent. Well, now we can pull her off and get the full view of what happened in here. All right, now for the crank. We've got the Quinn set here. So, see if I remember. Ooh, bigger. This is the 3/4. Excuse me, 15/16. Now for the girls I go out with, well, our totally legit and good solution is going to be this. We've got the Warbles. Like I said previously, I took the radiator out because I was doing the water pump at the same time, but don't have that luxury at the moment. I mean, we could, but if you don't need to pull out the radiator, it is a super easy job. There's just the 2 connections there for your transmission and 2 for the motor. But if you don't need to, you can save yourself a little bit of hassle. Easy enough. And when doing these, I'd really like to know why it failed so we can avoid a failure in the future. But you can see there that we're pretty well chowdered, and that shoe was slipping right in the bottom there. Well, and you can see there that she's about ready to go. Yeah, it does look like the belt's a little towards the edge there. Why it's failing that way, interesting. Let's plow forward. These, easy way, big pliers. I'll show you. Well, this is the right way, but this is not how I took it off last time. I'll show you in a second here. What's that white stuff there? Or did I Loctite this? Looks like I did. Just, there we go. Tension released. Nah, she's actually a 13 or half. All right. Can't quite blame that on the Husky set of junk. Right in front of the camera. This is how we got her in last time. I drilled 2 holes. That one wasn't the right one. And I popped that in, compressed the spring just on the bench, put a screw in there, then was able to put this in properly, and then unscrewed the screw, spring pops right out. We'll show you more of that in a moment. And look at all that fiberglass I got on the inside of the cover there. So, all right, now we know. I was hesitant to order parts until I had it apart and see if I did something wrong or if something was broken or etc. But now I think we're good to do so. So I'm gonna jump on the confuser and we're gonna go to IPD Direct. We're no longer buying junk. I'm avoiding Rock Auto at most occasions. It's been more hassle than it's worth for any of my vintage vehicles. I guess it's gone downhill. The parts are super cheap, super chintzy, and even if you're getting a name brand like this, I don't know, has this been sitting on a shelf for 20 years? I'm still not sure why this happened. This should not have happened. So, not buying junk anymore. So, me and you, are not done yet, because there's a lot more to be done on this vehicle. What I have in mind is my camera going higher. What I have in mind. This needs other work. So while we're waiting, there's going to be other episodes on this. We need to do the rear lift. There's an episode on that, I believe. Fuel pump. There's an episode going to be coming up on that. And then the important part, I'm doing a lot of stuff like lifting and muffler and glass pack and whatever, but I still have yet to address the Euro spec wiring that this has. So that will be in an episode coming up. So this is a mid-episode thing to tell you guys to comment, subscribe, do all those things, and click that notification bell because there's much more coming on this, including the lift, maybe a front lift, undecided on that. We're going to work on rims, we're going to work on fuel economy. We need a rack on the top. Absolutely. This thing is going Warhammer. This is all B-roll, fast, whatever. There's need to get all this out of there. See what happens here. I'm wearing gloves, not specifically because I care about my hands. It should be obvious that I don't. But because when I install this timing belt, you want to do it with grease-free, nice hands to avoid contamination. Look at all that. Ooh. That's stuff out of there. That's mostly that old timing belt that's popping out of here. Let's see if there's anything else to blow out of here. There is. Really get down in the nook and cranny here, but that doesn't look that bad. Actually, even nice. I don't think that front main seal is leaking at all, so I think we're just going to forego that front main seal. But if you need to, it just pulls off with a pick or whatever. And once you pull your pulley assembly out, which ideally should just pop right out, then you can just pick that out, hammer your new one in with I usually use a piece of wood to get them in, with a little hammer, a little dead blow, but yeah, that one's pretty easy. So now, whoops, hit the camera. Let's get the rest of this thing rolling. Now I have picked up the new idler pulley, and that just pops in right there, because I thought the one that I got in my kit was actually it's a bit looser than this one. I'm sure she'll loosen up over time. So, as you can see, I did Loctite her before. Let's get our belt on and look at positioning. Let's get our spring on. And there's a few ways to do it. I think I mentioned in the last clip that I had drilled a hole here, then I had compressed it down, and then that was a big pain. So let's think of an easier way. We'll get that just hand tight there. Now let me see if I can just roll her here. Probably not. It's the Volvo way. Let's try this way. All right, we're making progress. This is the way. And once again, that second hole is entirely of my doing. Let her go. Hope nothing bad happens. Success. And we'll put that in some proper Loctite in a moment. There we are. Success. The two-hole method is the way. I think you can almost do it with just the factory hole, but that was close. You just gotta finagle it. Well, let's line our new belts up. Things looking up. You notice there's some marks on it. Official Volvo goodness here. You should be able to read Volvo as if normal. So putting that on, I had already aligned this with the notch right there. So I'm gonna line it back with that notch, and then down here, the line that you see here should align with that dot right there. Let's see. A few more teeth. And then the two dots are going to align Let me kind of route that to where it's going. Okay, we're on all three. Check my alignment. That's still aligned right there. And when you do this, there's a little notch right there. You align your camshaft with that. And if I look down here, you can see that one line is still lined up with that. Hard part's aligning that bottom. So, let's see, there are 2 dots. And if I fold that over, you can see, I don't know if you can see, that the 2 dots are going to align with the notch in the keyway. So now, let's tension this thing. Hand tight right there, but hand tight right there. Success. Tight there. And that is the pulling side. That is the side that should be tight. And let's tighten up our bolts here. Now you do go somewhat tight on that. That does not loosen. It is tensioned. However, some 1,000 miles down the road or whatever, you pull off the little tab there on the front of the timing cover, loosen this so it can take up the slack, and then tighten her back down. Whoa. Okay, this is a learning experience. I have just now learned why that failed. Look at that. What was I thinking? Let me see if I can get the camera to show you what's happening here. I mean, the hindsight is 20/20, you know, but that bolt, when on, is hitting the belt. That's our problem. Wow. Well, here I am blaming Rock Auto for stuff, and you know, they are the usual suspects in that regard, but something else went awry. Now that we've installed a shorter screw, well, success. As you can see, the motor is running. On the bottom crank pulley bolt, that, in my case, I impacted it on. Their IPD does sell a tool that holds the crank in position so you don't need an impact on it. Or alternatively, if you have a manual transmission, set the brake lever in gear and you can get it tightened sufficiently. Well, things have happened. And she works. She does. I got started on a whole different thing with wiring. There's another episode coming up about that, about the Euro spec wiring. She's a disaster, so we're going to remedy that. But that is a subject for a future episode. In this case, you saw it run. She runs. Starts. Goes. Excellent. So I believe that concludes our episode. To be concise, so you can have an easy, findable episode where people who need this knowledge can find it easily, that concludes this episode on the timing belt, which is about the easiest timing belt you can do. Non-interference, so even if you completely bork it, your engine's still safe, and you can, even if you can't figure it out, have somebody fix it. But thanks for watching. Stay tuned for whichever episode is next. You know what to do with the whole liking, whatevers. You got this. I trust you.